Go out to the guest line. The Detroit Lions will play a playoff game this weekend. They're 60 minutes away from going back to the NFC Championship game. The road to the Super Bowl through the NFC, as long as Detroit keeps on winning, goes through them. And Glover Quin is a former Detroit Lion and the host of the podcast Believe in Lions. The Believe Network is available on all audio platforms, including YouTube and the Believe Football Fast channel. Glover Quin, appreciate the time. How you been?
Man, I've been good. How you been?
Well, I've been good. So I got to start you off with Deion Sanders and all these Cowboy rumors. There's a lot to come out in the last 24 hours. You know, Ed Warder saying people close to Deion are pushing him to take the job. Jane Slater from the NFL Network just said Deion is having some hiccups with Colorado when it comes to NIL and more money for his staff. You having the former player perspective, how do you think Coach Prime Deion Sanders would work in the NFL?
I mean, I think it'll be a little different, obviously. When you're dealing with, grown men. I think he's even said it, dealing with grown men, rich men, as opposed to young high school and college athletes that you can have more of an influence on with more than just football. He deals a lot with life things that I think he has a lot more influence on those guys than, dealing with all of the things that come with being an NFL head coach. I mean, could it work? I think he could, because he's been in the locker room. He's been around the NFL for a long time, so he understands players. He understands what it takes. I just wonder how it would be, with his connection with the team and how he does things, because, like I said, you'll be dealing with grown men as opposed to, college students or, when he was a high school coach.
If you were, let's say, in that Cowboys locker room and Jerry Jones said, hey, we're going to make Deion Sanders the next coach just because he's one of the greatest football players of all time and the big personality and the way that he resonates with so many people, would that kind of resonate with you as a player, or is it, okay, I kind of got a job to do. I don't need all that drama?
I mean, I think in the NFL, it's kind of one of those things. Yes, you could resonate in some ways, but at the end of the day, as an NFL head coach, he has a lot more responsibility. So it's not like he's going to be able to be just right there with the DBs the entire time. So you're going to be closer with your DB coach. And I don't think the guys in the NFL need the extra that comes with Coach Prime and his his whole staff and, the video and all that stuff, because they've already made it to the NFL. I mean, a lot of those guys in high school, Jackson State, Colorado, they benefit from the extra social media attention. They benefit from that as college kids. I don't know if guys in the NFL, I mean, you go to the Cowboys, I don't know if Dak Prescott needs that. I don't know if Trayvon Diggs, Michael Parsons, I don't know if they need his social media. But I mean, if he can game plan, control the team, lead the team in the right direction, and bring some swagger and some attitude and the things that he brings, and they win games, I feel like he'll be accepted anywhere.
Do you feel like right now, Glover Quin, as you got 6 jobs that are still open, that the Lions, I know that they're getting ready for this game coming up on Saturday. Do you feel as if Ben Johnson and both Aaron Glenn will both be out of here at the end of the season?
I think it'll be very difficult to keep them. I mean, I think, winning coaches, consistently winning, they've stuck with those guys for a while, and they've progressively gotten better and better and better, and now they're clicking offensively and defensively. And I think it's very difficult to keep winning coordinators, winning coaches in that sense. And it's the same way with players. When you're a good player coming from a winning team, you're more valuable in free agency in a sense. When you're a good player, but you're coming from a bad team, I mean, yeah, you're going to get looked at as being a good player, but you're also coming from a bad team. But when you're a good player coming from a good team, then you're going to be way more valuable. And so being a good coordinator on a good team NFC Championship appearance last year. Hopefully another NFC Championship to a Super Bowl and possibly hopefully winning it this year. They definitely going to be coveted by all those six teams. Whether they take the job or get offered in what they would want is yet to be seen. But I definitely think that they're going to have a lot of people coming after them.
Glover Quin here with us. It seems like right now that Aaron Glenn is either going to be the next coach of the Saints or the Jets. Like, that's just what the rumors say. When it comes to Ben Johnson, you tell him to zig, he zags. Last year, I thought he was going to take the Commanders job. He comes back to Detroit. A month ago, I would have said the Bears job. Then 2 weeks ago, I would have said the Jaguars job. And now, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I feel like he's going to the Raiders. What do you think ends up happening here with Ben Johnson? What job do you think he takes?
I think the thing about Ben is I don't think anybody really knows. I mean, I don't know Ben personally. So I think the thing that happens is we don't know his leadership style. We don't see his personality a lot to know where he would fit well. I mean, we could say Aaron Glenn with the Saints and the Jets because he played with the Jets and he coached with the Saints for a while. So you can see those obvious connections. And then obviously we kind of see some personality from Aaron Glenn on the sideline. So we can see a little fire and grit. And also that's what it takes to be a defensive player in the NFL. But at the end of the day, Ben Johnson's a play caller. We don't even really see him interact a lot of time with the players. So we don't even know what his coaching I don't even know what his coaching style is. Because I could see, okay, personality wise, does he fit in New York? I don't know. Does he fit in Chicago? I don't know. Maybe he's a Dallas guy. Do you send him to Vegas? Does he have that leadership to where he can command a team and be able to control a team in Vegas? I don't know. I honestly don't know. And I think that's the big thing about Ben. I don't think anybody knows other than Ben and the coaches on the Lions staff.
How mysterious he is, it's fascinating to me because he's like the mad scientist. His offenses are so fun to watch, but you're right. I know nothing else outside of that. He likes to get the football to fat offensive linemen, and he likes to draw up all these crazy plays. Him as a person, like Aaron Glenn, you're right, you see it. That guy could be a leader of men. Ben Johnson, mad scientist is the way that I would say it, Glover Quin.
Yeah, and the thing is, sometimes, the best thing a person can do is to know themselves, right? You got to know what you're comfortable with, what you can do, what you're good at, what you're not so good at. And we can all sit around here and say because Ben Johnson is having great success as a coordinator that he shouldn't be the next head coach and he's this and he's that. Ben Johnson knows if he feels like he could be a head coach. Some people just literally like calling plays and drawing up plays, and all they got to worry about is my offensive coordinator. That's all I got to worry about is my offense. I don't have to deal with the media. I don't have to talk to the media. I don't have to worry about what's going on defense. I don't have to worry about. I don't have to answer questions. I don't have to do any of those things other than draw up plays and scheme up the best ways to get my guys the ball. And some people like that. And so I don't know if that's Ben Johnson or I don't know if he has aspirations to want to be a real head coach because I think if he did, he could have left last year. So maybe he's waiting for a specific type of job. But at the end of the day, if you're getting hired right now, you're probably going to a team that fired a coach. So they probably didn't have a great season. So you're going to have a personality to be able to come in and change the culture somewhere. And I just don't know. I'm not saying that he can't do it. I just don't know. We don't ever get to see that from Ben.
Talking to Glover Quin right now. All righty, get into the game on Saturday. Commanders had a fun victory. They've been a fun story. Jaden Daniels is a heck of a player. Can the Commanders win this game? How can you see the Commanders maybe pulling off the upset up against your Lions?
Well, the thing I can see them, if they pull the upset, obviously Jaden Daniels is going to have to play fantastic. And from everything I've seen from him, he has the ability. He doesn't seem phased. He doesn't seem like the moment is too big for him. He seems paused. His first playoff game last week, he didn't seem jittery. He didn't seem out of control. He ran when he was supposed to ran. He may have even taken more hits than he probably should have taken last week. And so the thing that the way that I can see it is obviously him being able to control the clock. Sometimes the best defense is a good offense, and so if they can run the ball and get positive yards with Brian Robinson, then that's going to open up things on third and short for Zach Ertz across the middle. And then Jaden Daniels just being able to run and get the first down. And that's so frustrating for a defense. And so if they can sustain 8, 10, 12, 14 play drives, take 6, 7 minutes off the clock and get touchdowns in the red zone, that's going to be tough. And if you look at when the Lions have lost, they lost early in the season to Tampa Bay. They got behind early in the game and they never really got a chance to get the run game going, which leads to all their play action and everything that they can do. Jared Goff threw the ball over 50 something times that game. That's a recipe for disaster for them. But then the same thing kind of happened in Buffalo, but you also had Josh Allen, who's also a mobile quarterback, probably not as mobile as Jaden Daniels, but he was a mobile quarterback. He controlled the game, and they were able to come in and beat up on the Lions pretty good as well. So I think Jaden Daniels being composed in that environment, because it's going to be electric, him being composed in that environment and being able to control the game, run when he's supposed to run, and make timely completions to those guys and control the clock. I think that right there would be how they can upset the Lions, but they're going to have to be on point because the Lions they're going to be more than likely they're going to be connecting on all cylinders at home.
Wrap it up with Glover Quin. Does a great job now with the Believe Podcast Network. Believe in Lions, former Lion, and also part of the Houston Texans organization. So you look at the last 3 years with Detroit, Glover, right? They started off slow 3 years ago. They finished incredibly strong. It laid the foundation of last year, what's going to be an intriguing season. I thought the Lions last year, as good of a team that they were, they overachieved. They had an opportunity with the lead in the NFC Championship game to get to the Super Bowl. They didn't take care of business. This year, it's clear it's Super Bowl or bust. But sometimes you have an organization like the Lions, it's like, all right, just what bad luck are we going to get? And this year, every injury that happened. And here they are still with the number 1 overall seed, and they're 2 wins away from getting to the Super Bowl. Just how confident are you right now that this is their year to not only get to the Super Bowl, but that they'll be hosting up the Lombardi Trophy on February 9th?
I'm pretty confident in their ability. They've shown all year that they've been a top team in the NFL. From offensively, they've been stellar all year. Defensively, they've had some struggles. They dealt with a lot of injuries. Guys went down. Obviously, they lost their best player in Aiden Hutchinson early in the season. Um, but they've battled through all those things, and those guys, those young guys, they've come in and they've learned. They've gotten good game experience. And these last few weeks against San Francisco, against Minnesota, they've been playing really good football. And I think that they worked really hard to get the number 1 seed in the NFL. And now the road to the Super Bowl goes through Detroit. Now, when you look at it, they didn't lose a road game all year. So I don't think they were afraid to go on the road. I mean, they actually lost 2 games at home, right? And so it's not going to just be a cakewalk because you're playing in Ford Field. It's going to be difficult. It is going to be that. But I think they got a tough road. I know it may not seem like it, but I think the Commanders matchup could be a tough matchup. And depending on what happens in that game, I think the Rams or the Eagles could be a tough matchup. And so they're gonna have to earn it, and that's the only way that you would expect for it to be coming from Detroit. And I mean, if you haven't been to the Super Bowl ever in history, it's not going to be laid out on you in red carpet. You're going to have to really kick some doors down to get there. And so that's the way it's set up.
And if they win, right, you talked about it, they'll get the winner of the Eagles and the Rams. I know we saw that in the playoffs last year, but could you imagine if standing in front of the Lions going to the Super Bowl, Matthew Stafford standing there in Detroit with the Rams? That would be something, man.
So that'd be crazy. That's what I'm saying. That would be so crazy. That would be so, like, can you imagine how big of a game that would be to have the Rams in Ford Field with Matthew Stafford at the quarterback to go to the Super Bowl? Oh man.
It would be wild.
That'd be huge. That'd be huge. But that, honestly, I mean,
I'd rather see
I've
Philadelphia,
said
though,
this.
in terms of the game and all the offensive firepower. We know the Rams have a ton of it, but you look at Saquon, you look at A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Jalen Hurts. Man, as a fan, with no dog in the fight, I'd rather see Lions and Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably rather see Lions and Eagles. That'd be, that's a game I think would be a tough game just because of everything that they present. Guys on every level from a quarterback to a running back to a tight end to two wide receivers. I mean, they will be tough, and then they obviously got the top defense in the league, so they got good offense and they got good defense.
And both coaches are maniacs, too. Like, I never know what to
Yeah.
expect from Campbell or Sirianni when I watch a game.
Yeah, yeah, that'll be some fireworks if that happened, man. So I think either way, and Darius Slay is on that Eagles team, a former Lion.
Good point.
You know what I'm saying? So he would be, one of those guys that's trying to be in the way of the Lions getting to the Super Bowl as well. So I think either way is going to be an incredible matchup. But I mean, the Lions got to go out and handle the Commanders first, and then we can worry about what the other teams do on Sunday.
Last thing I'll ask you, get into a team that you played for to start your career, the Texans. We thought they would take that next step this year. Most of the season looked like they haven't been ready to do so, but here they are once again in the divisional round where they were last year, except this time they're going up against Kansas City. Can you see C.J. Stroud walking into Arrowhead and pulling off the upset, or is this just going to be Kansas City winning the game?
I mean, I think they can. I think one of the things I saw last week from CJ that I hadn't seen was he looked determined last week. Some of the times I saw him run last week, it's like that's what we've been waiting on, CJ. We're not saying you have to be Lamar Jackson. But there's times where you can run and pick up a first down. You don't always have to just throw the ball 5 yards. Or you know what I'm saying? You have the ability to run if you need to run to get a first down. And I think last week he went in that game and he felt like, okay, first of all, I can't turn the ball over. We can't stay behind the chains. So we gotta keep getting positive yards. And it's gonna be me, it's gonna be Nico, and it's gonna be Joe Mixon. We are going to have to lead us offense. We don't have anybody else. We don't have Tank Dell. We don't have Stephon Diggs. We don't have anybody else but us. And I thought he did a phenomenal job. He played tough, played determined. And I think if he goes into Kansas City and have that same mentality, I mean, if you think about when they played the Chiefs a few weeks ago, I mean, they were neck
They were
and neck
there.
with those guys all the way until the Tank Dell injury. Once Tank got hurt, then that kind of took the wind out of their sails, and it was downhill from there. But they were right there, so I don't think they're going to go into that atmosphere because they just been there 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, however many it was. So I don't think they're going to go there and just be shell shocked or any of these things. And the Chiefs haven't played in 3 weeks, and so when you think about it in that regard, they're either going to come out fresh and just rolling, or they're going to come out a little sluggish. And if they come out a little sluggish and keep the game close, anything could happen. And now the Chiefs have won a lot of one-score games this year. But we all know when it's a one-score game, it could go either way. They've made a lot of the plays, and that's why they are a championship team. But that means the Texans can make those plays as well. And so I think it'll be a good game. Like I say, the first quarter, you'll be able to tell how it's gonna go. The Chiefs either gonna come out smoking hot, or they're gonna come out a little rusty, a little sluggish.
He's Glover Quin, former Detroit Lion and Houston Texan, now the host of the podcast Believe in Lions. The Believe Network is available on all audio platforms, including YouTube and the Believe Football Fast Channel. Glover Quin, thanks for doing this.
Oh man, thank you for having me.